Hey there, and welcome to part 2 of comic book reviews for November 4th, 2015. Last video we did DC books. This video we are going to cover Marvel books, starting with the very enjoyable Invincible Iron Man number 3. 3 issues in, still very much liking this book. And this issue I feel is a nice change of pace. It's a little slower, it's a little let's say more somber than what we got in the previous 2 issues. Of course, this is belied by the second page being Tony's armor self-destructing, flinging Tony out of an open window where he has to then battle Madame Mask from afar. But we cut to, after the title page, to Tony at MIT in the laboratory of Amara, the scientist that he took on a date in the first issue. And he's kind of sulking there. He's been waiting outside of her lab, and as you can tell from this page, one of the issues I do have with this book is that there is a lot of word balloons. This is just a thing with Brian Michael Bendis. But it's like really noticeable when they just kind of cut through the middle, or on the next page, just kind of loop around like this. There's a lot of word balloons, but I mean, what the words in the balloons are actually quite good. But we have Tony kind of not only explaining how he survived the encounter with Mask, but now how he feels about it. He's getting very touchy-feely with Amara, and he talks to her about how he went to her because he respects her, and how he doesn't really have many other friends even within the superhero community. And he just gets really kind of introspective. We find out that Tony's sense of ego and self-esteem is very much inflated, that when he can't figure something out, it really bothers him. So we get a bit of a more personal look into Tony Stark, more intimate. But beside that, we do have some pretty cool fight scenes between Tony and remote controlling the Iron Man armor and Madame Mask, where we find out a bit more about her powers. She is using a lot of magic now, and she escapes the battle, which is how Tony survived. In order to track Mask down, Tony goes to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is like, well, Madame Mask is definitely using magic, but she's still inexperienced. I'll help you out. But they're clearly not friends, as you can tell by this page here, where it takes 6 panels, 8 if you include the 2 on the previous page, for Doctor Strange to stop leaving Tony hanging. That feels like too many verbs, to stop leaving Tony hanging. You know what I meant. It's after 11. I'm tired. It's after 11:30 now. I'm so tired. So yeah, and then Tony goes off to search for Madame Mask, is basically the last third of this book. As I said, I'm really enjoying Iron Man. I think it's a very solid, I guess it's kind of like Marvel's flagship right now. It's like this, Spider-Man maybe, are like their flagship books. It's kind of the classic Marvel characters that are still themselves. I mean, now that Falcon has become Captain America, Thor is still, I forget the character's name, Jane Porter? Jane something. I think Ant-Man is Scott Lang. So it's still like the, him and Peter, and I guess Doctor Strange are like the only kind of Marvel heroes that are their classic versions, I guess. I don't know. And it's just a solid book overall. It handles the slower moments well in this issue, as it did the kind of action-heavy moments in the first 2. So overall, yeah, just I guess, really enjoying it. Really solid book. It's no Hawkeye, it's no Batman, but it's just incredibly solid, very enjoyable, and I enjoy it every issue. Next up is Doctor Strange, issue number 2, and this is fantastic. I'm really 2 issues in, I am just loving this book. Starting with the art. They go full Eldritch here, and I just love the contrast between the first 2 pages of this book. The first page here, we get a brief history of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and then the next page with all the trouble going on, and you go from like this kind of idealistic, pastel, very calm scene on the first page to this eldritch abomination popping out of this woman's head in the next. And I just love how weird this book gets visually and narratively. Like, the actual what happens is just as weird as how it looks. As to what actually happens, a bunch of creepy crawlies escape from this woman's head. Her name is Zelma, and all these creepy crawlies escape her head and start running amok throughout the Sanctum Sanctorum, and it is up to Doctor Strange and Zelma, and later Wong, who is kind of Doctor Strange's Alfred, to collect all the creepy crawlies and put them somewhere else, not in the Sanctum Sanctorum, because the Sanctum Sanctorum is full of very powerful, very magic-y artifacts that you don't want futzing around. So this is like, it mainly serves as a tour of Doctor Strange's house, and it's super weird, and it's like a cross between like the TARDIS from Doctor Who and the Netherrealm from Beetlejuice, and it's just a fantastic setting, and it's so cool. You get a little bit of Hogwarts here, I think, with the stairs, or maybe MC Escher, I guess, is the your example of it, but Hogwarts. I'm not even a big fan of Harry Potter. I'm not sure why Hogwarts was the first thing to come to mind, but there we go. Yeah, it's this house where nothing makes any sense and everything wants to kill you. And as they're going through, Strange is losing a little bit of his powers. He says later on in the book that it feels as though the spell just didn't exist anymore. So we get some of that. And it's just overall very cool, weird, silly book. What I like is that Strange doesn't really take himself too seriously. Again, this is like my first Doctor Strange book, and for some reason I always pictured him as being like this more kind of haughty hero, like kind of super serious. I'm not sure why. And he's kind of that way in Secret Wars too, I guess. But here he's very kind of down to earth. He's very calm. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and it's like really nice to see that. I'm really enjoying just his character and how he interacts with the people around him and the weird magic stuff that happens around him. He's just, again, super chill, super cool guy. But yeah, I think the big like focal point of this book is just where it takes you, how weird everything gets, and how unafraid it is to be weird. Here's a panel near the end where all the creepy crawlies kind of just mob Doctor Strange. Like, I can't imagine seeing this sort of thing in any other book, really. It's both comical, but not like, it's not laugh out loud, it's a big part of the book. It's not played for laughs, but it's super weird. But also you have a scene where Wong comes in and knocks a whole bunch of things around with the frying pan because Zelma opened the refrigerator, which is full of unspeakable horror. So, yeah, it covers all the bases. It's super duper fun. It's an adventure and a bottle episode all in one. It's just really cool. Really enjoying Doctor Strange. Can't help but recommend it. Can't help but recommend, in case, I don't know, I feel like I rushed through that sentence. Next up, we have the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 3, and Dan Slott is just killing it. I mean, I've always liked Dan Slott's work, but I think this is the best story he's ever done. Like, in these 3 issues, I'm just loving kind of how he's pulling out of the stops. He's saying, this is Peter, new. It's Peter, like, without any of the limitations or restraints that previous stories might have put on him, that Dan Slott was playing toward. This is 100% Dan Slott's Spider-Man, and I just love watching what he's doing with the character. As you can tell from this cover, this issue has Human Torch in it. There is a fight between Spider-Man and Human Torch, and it is mainly funny. But before we get to the fight, we have a quick scene with Zodiac, and the Zodiac leaders, the heads of Zodiac, are getting their horoscope read for them. And I love just this initial interaction because it's a horoscope. It's a silly thing. And it begins with the Gemini who are giving the horoscope saying, Scorpio, take bold risks today and you will be rewarded. The path of an action leads to, and then it gets cut off and says, you're a horoscope, not a fortune cookie. Like, they're taking this really, it's like this small little bit of humor in this otherwise dramatic scene that just makes you kind of chuckle a bit to yourself. They also have a great scene right after that as Peter lands back in New York City, and he's being introduced by J. Jonah Jameson, who's now all over him, just totally brown-nosing Peter Parker, because he's kind of a sycophant, and I just love I love this JJ, who's just all over Peter Parker, saying, oh, Peter, my buddy, he's like a son to me, and all that, just because he's rich now. And we find out the reason that Peter Parker and the Human Torch get into a fight, and it's because Peter now owns the Baxter Building. And so that, understandably, or not really understandably, but I guess understandably for the character, kind of pisses off Johnny Storm, who goes rushing over to confront Peter about the ownership of the Baxter Building, which, of course, is famously the headquarters of the Fantastic Four. I think this is the first actual Fantastic Four character I've seen post-Secret Wars, and it's implied that the rest of them aren't around in a great sort of respect. So kind of interested in seeing how that's going to develop, if they're going to develop it in this book or through the other Marvel books. Because the Fantastic Four are they're the first family of comics, so just seeing them not around is kind of weird in itself. It's kind of begging the question, of what happened to the Fantastic Four. So Peter tries to calm down Johnny Storm, but pretty much everything sets him off. Like, he's trying to calm down, like, Johnny, wait, let me explain. But then, and he's like, he flames down for a second, and then he sees something, he goes, oh no, Peter, and flames up, and it's quite comical, actually. Meanwhile, we see we see Zodiac attack S.H.I.E.L.D., and so as you have Johnny versus Spider-Man, you also have Zodiac versus S.H.I.E.L.D., and this battle does not go as well for S.H.I.E.L.D. as Peter's eventually goes with Johnny. And as I think I showed this page before, so I might as well kind of spoil it. The person running the Baxter Building for Parker Enterprises is actually Norman Osborn, which again I just enjoy. I enjoy, just that version of Peter, which is kind of like Bruce Wayne. I think how Bruce Wayne always gives his villains second chances and gives them new jobs and hopes they reform. You have Peter Parker, who's now in a very Bruce Wayne position, doing the same thing, and it's expected of him almost. Like, of course, Peter pays it forward. That's what he does. He's a nice guy like that. So yeah, it's just really cool seeing Peter run a business and how he's doing it as Peter Parker. How like all the money and stuff doesn't change him. I like that at least. But yeah, that's I mean. I love Spider-Man and I like Dan Slott, and this is just Dan Slott's kind of ideal Spider-Man. It's funny, it's action-packed, the art's amazing, especially these Alex Ross covers. I mean, I just can't get enough of them. There's nothing in this book I don't like, and I think if you're a fan of Spider-Man, then there's nothing in the book that you won't like either. And in fact, I think you'll like pretty much all of it. So, Amazing Spider-Man gets my recommendation. And the last Marvel book this week is another book I wholeheartedly enjoy, Howard the Duck #1. So this was pointed out by Kate Leff on Twitter. These are her tattoos on Tara over here. Same tattoos as Kate Leff has on her arm. That's kind of neat. Kate Leff is also a comic book writer. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, or it should, but yeah. And so the crux of this story is that Howard the Duck is feeling a little homesick. And so he goes on an adventure with Tara under the guise of a road trip to find his way back home. But it's not that simple, of course. First of all, just as advertised in the kind of spoiler for this book, Howard does indeed lose his hat and has to get a new one. So, Chip Zdarsky fulfilling promises 2015. It's still 2015. But yeah, in this book, Howard the Duck does indeed get a new hat. He also gets into a fight with what looks like Seuss from Gravity Falls about politics. And we find out that Howard's a Democrat. So good on you, Howard the Duck. And this is his new hat. Nobody's perfect in Florida. Very true. So yeah, as I said, this book is about Howard trying to find his way home. And of course, they end up running into trouble. In this issue, it's Titania and the Wizard, some very kind of Z-list Marvel villains, as they approach the nexus of all realities, or as Wizard likes to call it, the Wizard's Hole. And I just love what we see here. We have Iron Howard the Duck, we have Spider-Gwen Batman, just kind of a dumpy Captain America, and then an evil Squirrel Girl, and Cyclops, but his visor's oriented the other way. Yeah, so still bringing the humor, as Howard the Duck and Chip Zdarsky always have, and it's good. That's pretty much it. It's Howard trying to get home, doesn't quite work out, because it's funnier that way. And then, at the end, we get a little second story involving another new character, Gwenpool, who Black Cat hires Howard the Duck to track, to find, because Gwenpool messed up a thing of Black Cats. And so that is the little back matter story. Also quite enjoyable. And that is it for Marvel books this week. I enjoyed all of them. I'm really liking this Marvel relaunch. I don't think I have not liked... I don't think I've not liked a single book that they've put out since then. So, thumbs up to Marvel all around. Next video will be the last of this week, where I will be reviewing stuff that isn't Marvel or DC, so a couple of indies, couple of not indies, but neither Marvel or DC. You know how this goes. We've been watching these for a while. But if you haven't, I recommend subscribing, because that'd be a cool thing for you to do. Also, if you like this video, please rate it. And any comments, questions, anything whatsoever, feel free to leave them below. Thank you, though, for watching this video, regardless of whatever actions you take that I recommended there. But I do hope that I see you for some more comic book reviews.